A nice way to fillet bass so that your fillets come out boneless. If you look right in here, there's the dorsal fin, and there's the scales, and there's a tiny little channel right there. Use the point of your knife and poke in. You see, poking on scales, it's hard to get through. You go into that channel and it just pops through. And then slide your knife down, staying on the one side, so you get the end of this fin here. Make sure your knife is level and poke it right through so you come out on the back side, or on the top side of that fin. Curve your knife down a little bit so as you cut, you might hit a bone. You just lift it over the bone and cut again, lift it again. Just keep turning it down and lifting over that spine bone, and you're out. There's the spine right there.
Oh, here's our phone. I don't know how to answer it.
Now when you get down to there, put pressure on here, turn your knife so your blade's facing the head, and just saw your way up, keeping the knife straight till you get to the back of the head, right at the end of the scales. Then turn it over and do exactly the same thing. Find that little channel in there where the spines go into the backbone and the scales end right there. Take the point of your knife and it just pops through. Go whichever direction you want, but this is, I find, the best one. Saw your way down, get to the end of that fin here again, poke your knife right through, and you come back out on the other side of that fin. Turn your knife the slightest little bit down and start drawing. If you feel a bone, just lift the edge of your knife a bit and then turn it again to get over the bone. And you're out. Go back here and do the same as the first time. Saw your way to the back of the head. That's as far as you can go. You can start here, hang on to the gill, and the best, easiest is go straight up this way and down and under the belly fin. There you got to put some little effort into it. You got to cut through the scales. Okay, you've ended right there, about halfway across that pair of fins. Turn it over and do the same. Now we're through. Bring it down. Just use the tip of your knife to cut through. Then take your knife and draw it between the one and the other. That side and that side. Don't cut it that way. Now it's your choice which fillet you want to take off first. But now you can hold on to it with your hand and just use the point of your knife and start drawing the knife across the meat and actually turn in towards the center of the fish and draw until you feel bone, and just try and get your knife to follow along the actual rib bone right there. And this is the one that they call the Y bone. Just little tiny little cuts and pull it apart and then slide it down the bone, always turning your knife in towards the belly. You'll be able to see the bones right there. Sometimes you might have to release there, where I just did there, and start following your bone again. And you want to follow that bone till you get to the back side of the scales. And any meat down in this area, turn your knife a little bit to the body and just cut it. There's no bone there. Now there's the part of the Y bone. You should start to see the hide now, right there, that shiny white spot. Take your knife and try and push it on the underside of the bones, like that. You got to use your hands to be pulling. Your thumb should be right there where mine is right now. It'd be very difficult to go through that hide, but you can do it. And you slide that up. And what happens, eventually you'll see the meat start to form there again, and there's the bones. Take your knife, draw it slowly down the meat, and turn your knife gradually toward you, and you follow the main rib bones. The main rib bones are right there. Push with your fingers, pull with your thumb. Just follow the surface of those bones. Eventually, you'll come to the end. And you'll be able to just slide the knife right through like that. Turn it over. There's the vent right there. Right here. Take your knife, start at the back end here because it's sharper than the front point, and start drawing it. Now here's the vent. Just pull up on this, let the weight of the fish hang down, and there's the fillet.
Okay.
Turn it over. And you do the same thing. Open her up with your hand. Try and get as much meat as you can by drawing the knife, and then eventually you'll feel the bones. Sometimes you might have to release this little section right there. You can see right there a little piece of meat. So you just work at that, work at this end here. You can see that there is quite a chunk of meat in there, but eventually you'll hit the bone. Then take the point of your knife and start following the bone, gradually peeling it. Pull with these fingers and put your thumb there against it. Use this area here just to get your knife in and get yourself closer to the back side of the hide. There's the back side of the hide now. Bring the rest of it into that area. Try and get your knife underneath those ribs. Now right here, turn the knife down and try and that way you can tell if you felt a bone. I just felt a bone right there, so I cut away there, pushed the edge of my point of my knife down till I got to the underside of the bone. Now you can start to see the Y bone showing up. And now you're going to go into your rib cage and peel the meat, cut the meat away from the rib cage. If you pull on the meat at the same time as you're cutting, it comes apart easy. The end of the rib cage. Cut that section off. There's the vent. Try and get started just past the vent. Cutting the hide. And there's the fish. There's the Y bone. There's the ribs. There's the liver. That one down there is a female, still had eggs in it. A lot easier to dispose of. Turtles love them. Now you gotta fill it. Now you can use a fork or a tip of a knife. The fork works better to hold the end. Cut down and then turn your knife. And start pulling on the skin and pushing with the knife. If it's a real large fillet, you might have to turn the knife so it goes on an angle and go that way. Then reach back in, move your fork as you go, and then always turn it in a bit towards your solid surface, and then draw it again. Bring it back. There's the fillet.